This is a punishment for always being a nag, Michelle, saying that my mother-in-law locked the storage shed door from the outside. And then she took off for a 3-day, 2-night trip. The storage shed is a stuffy room with no windows. If I stay here for 3 days and 2 nights, I'll surely dry up. Even worse, I don't have my smartphone with me, so I can't call for help. However, I have one glimmer of hope. To bet on that hope, I decided to bear it out in this shed. My name is Michelle, and I'm 30 years old. After getting married, I left my full-time job and started working part-time in the neighborhood. My husband said he's fine if I become a stay-at-home wife, but I chose to work part-time because I wanted to earn my own spending money. Besides, as soon as we got married, I started living with my mother-in-law. My mill clearly sees me as an enemy, and the bullying started right after we moved in together. I always talk back to her. Michelle, redo the living room cleaning. Look, I found a strand of hair. Then my mother-in-law shows me a single strand of hair. It had short, light brown hair. My hair is long and black. That short, light brown hair is clearly hers. She once plucked her own hair just to pick on me. So I reply, I cleaned and checked today. Are you sure those hairs are not from your mother's own hair pulling? I say back. At this, my mill turns red and yells, there's no way I would do that. A daughter-in-law should just listen to her mother-in-law. I can't help but feel I've hit the nail on the head today, too. But ignoring my mill's constant nitpicking isn't an option. So I quickly redo the cleaning. Seems like she's content just seeing me do it over again. She also goes out of her way to make me redo things. For instance, after I've straightened out the laundry and hung it to dry, she'll sneakily crumple it up to create wrinkles. So when I think it's dry and go to take it down, I end up with wrinkled laundry. And of course, she always targets my clothes. She's truly a mean-spirited mill. Even while I'm in the middle of taking down the laundry, she goes, ah, look at these wrinkles. What a shame. You'll have to rewash or iron them, LOL, laughing as she says it. So the next day, I intentionally leave her clothes wrinkled when I hang them to dry and take them down just as crumpled. That's my form of retaliation. Actually, someone's helping me come up with these countermeasures. It's my sister-in-law, Emily, who doesn't live with us. She doesn't get along well with Mill and seldom visits. But Emily and I get along, and we sometimes meet for coffee on weekends. My husband knows about this and cheerfully sends me off, saying, enjoy your coffee chat. Given how well Emily and I click, she's quite the gutsy person. She's the one who helps me brainstorm these counterattacks against my mill. Yesterday, she complained my miso soup was too salty. Can you believe she said, don't you care if you get high blood pressure? Really? If she's so concerned, why not make an intentionally bland miso soup? Say it's for her health. That should shut her up, don't you think? That's a good idea. I did consider making a bland soup, but framing it as being for her health is smart. Then she'll just have to suck it up and eat it, lol. Eye for an eye, right? Gotta do what you gotta do to survive this. Haha, exactly. You're awesome, Emily. Maybe the reason we can laugh about it is that neither of us likes my mill. However, something happened that made it unnecessary to enact any of the revenge plans Emily and I had cooked up. Out of nowhere, my mill just stopped her bullying tactics. For some reason, she quit her deliberate schemes to make me redo chores and didn't even utter a single complaint anymore. Not only has she stopped complaining, but she's even started thanking me. Hey Michelle, you're part-time today, right? Just a quick clean will do. You always keep the place so neat, so don't sweat it. Thanks for always ironing the laundry. From now on, I'll take care of my share. It's hot and I know it's a lot of work. Today's dinner was so good. You've really improved your cooking skills. Keep those delicious meals coming. She's been showering me with compliments like this. At first, it was so awkward that I didn't know what to do. I even reached out to my sister-in-law, asking. My Mill has suddenly started praising me a lot. What should I do? My sister-in-law also said, "That's suddenly strange. I don't think that Mother would change her personality that easily. What's going on?" Although we both agonized over it for a while, I'm sure you'll be fine as long as you get compliments and appreciation. If they do something to you again, just think of something to do. We have come to the conclusion that this is the case. About a month has passed since my Mill started acting differently. She's been consistently kind to me. Then, one day, it was decided that my husband would be going on a business trip for 4 days and 3 nights. His job doesn't require frequent business trips, but when he does go, they tend to be longer stays. Once my husband's trip was confirmed, my Mill also announced she'd be going on a vacation with a friend for 3 days and 2 nights. I wondered, could this be my chance to enjoy some alone time? I started looking forward to it. So my Mill and I each had something to look forward to during my husband's business trip. The day after my husband left for his trip, today was the day my Mill was supposed to leave for her vacation. However, this morning she asked me to tidy up a room she usually uses for storage. The room has no windows and tends to get very hot. It's really not suitable for spending time in, especially during the summer. But my Mill insisted. I really need it cleaned up. Reluctantly, I went into the room to organize it. Within minutes, I was drenched in sweat. Why on earth does my Mill want me to clean this sweltering room? Not knowing the reason, I started tidying up haphazardly. After a while, I sensed my Mill near the door. Is she leaving for her trip already? I quickly glanced at the door and saw my Mill grinning. Then she slammed the door shut. I even heard the sound of the lock clicking. Mill, I rushed to the door, frantically jiggling the doorknob to try and open it. But the door wouldn't budge. Now I started banging on the door. Mill, what's going on? Open the door. No matter how much I screamed, there was no sign of the door opening. And then I heard what sounded like a death sentence. This is punishment for always being so naggy, Michelle. Enjoy the heat for the next 3 days, LOL. With that, I heard footsteps, and it seemed like my Mill had walked away. I never expected something like this to happen. It was beyond belief. Maybe my Mill had been nice to me for the past month, just to set me up for this moment. If so, her level of fixation is infuriating. There is no drink, food, or even a smartphone at hand. There is no way to call for help. I was planning to be home alone for the next 2 nights and 3 days. But now, it's not just about enjoying my time alone. If I can endure the heat for half a day, maybe help will come. Clutching onto that hope, I decided to endure it for a while. 2 nights and 3 days later, my Mill returned from her trip. The first place she went was to the storage room where she had locked me up. She must have thought to herself, surely she hasn't died, right? However, as she approached the door, she smelled the stench of decay. Startled, my mother-in-law fumbles with the lock and enters the room. The room is messy, and there's no sign of anyone. There's a foul, rotting smell hanging in the air. Really? My mother-in-law calls my name impatiently. Michelle. My Mill calls out anxiously. Need something, Mill? I reply from behind her. Outside the storage room. Yes, I had successfully escaped from that room. All thanks to my sister-in-law, Emily. Emily shows up in front of my Mill. Mom, how could you lock up my dear sister like that? Sarah was suffering from heat stroke. It was dangerous. My Mill is flabbergasted at our appearance. What's happening? And what's that horrible smell? The source of the putrid smell was just raw fish left to rot in this room. I show it to my mother-in-law just to give you a good scare, Mom, Emily says with a mischievous smile. It was all Emily's idea, this little prank. So essentially, my mill had been dancing to Emily's tune all along. For now, we leave the hot storage room and head for the cool living room. That is where we heard about this case. It was my mother-in-law who opened her mouth. When did Michelle get rescued? She's the one who should be grilled. Yet she asks in an irritated tone. It was half a day after you left Michelle there. Emily replies sternly. Today was the day I was supposed to visit. She was found within that time. But can you imagine what would have happened if I didn't come? Emily glares at my mill. She had severe heat stroke. She got better after receiving N4 at the hospital. But if it was a little later, she could have died from it. What on earth were you thinking, Mill? Were you actually trying to kill Michelle? My mother-in-law is cornered instantly. No, I wasn't trying to kill her. I just wanted to put this uppity daughter-in-law in her place. I wanted to make it clear that I'm the one in charge in this house. So, all of this was done just to put me in my place, endangering my life. I was utterly speechless at my Mill's actions. By the way, does Tom know about this? She asks. Of course, he knows, and he'll be home soon. We're planning a family meeting. Oh, and Aunt Susan, who lives nearby, will be coming as well. Aunt Susan is my Mill's sister, and we all know that my Mill can't stand up to her. Heavens, I didn't know you were going to call her. I ran into Aunt Susan yesterday, and when I updated her on what's happening, she insisted on being invited to the family meeting. Just then, the doorbell rings. Speak of the devil. Is that Aunt Susan? My sister-in-law happily heads toward the front door. For a moment, it's just me and my Mill. My mother-in-law turned to me. So, you feel pretty good having all these people on your side. I am still in the advantageous position. Mother-in-law, you can't change the fact that you're so terrible, can you? You locked me in the shed and tried to make me a deceased person. Simply put, your mother-in-law is to blame for everything. Just then, Aunt Susan, my husband, and my sister-in-law return. And so, the family meeting is about to commence. If you hated Michelle so much, you shouldn't have moved in with her. Totally rightly said by Suzuna. My Mill shrinks back, unable to answer. Mom, I had no idea about any of this. Harassing Michelle and then letting your guard down to create a situation like this. That's not the way any decent human being thinks. I trusted you, Mom, and now I feel betrayed. My husband chimes in. My Mill finally speaks up. What's the big deal? Everyone's ganging up on me. Did I do something that awful? In the end, she's okay, isn't she? I did nothing wrong. Eck. You could hear a collective sigh from everyone in the room. What did I do wrong? Despite acknowledging that I messed up, I still feel like I have a right to be angry. Are you not going to be sorry? Susan asks. Why should I reflect? I didn't do anything wrong. I sounded just like a scolded child. Mom, stop acting like a child and take some responsibility. Otherwise, my husband paused mid-sentence. We what? My Mill snapped, practically yelling. I can't live with you anymore. Finally, he said it. In my heart, I was giving my husband a round of applause. I can't live with someone who tries to screw people over so easily. To that, my other sister-in-law, Susan, seemed to agree with me. I'm against Mom and Michelle living together any longer. We should put an end to this living arrangement. You're right. After what you've been through, it would be hard for you to live comfortably with her. You can stay at our place for a while if you want. Both Emily and Susan came to my defense. This made my Mill panic. Hold on. If you two leave, how am I supposed to make ends meet? That's not our problem. Didn't you bring this upon yourself? Didn't you realize that mistreating Cindy would eventually lead to this? My husband clearly had no intention of supporting his mother any longer. Wait, reconsider. Either continue living with me or provide some support. Otherwise, My Mill seemed really desperate. Emily interrupted. You dare talk about continuing to live together or seeking financial support after what you did? You're only thinking of yourself. Besides, you haven't even apologized to Michelle, have you? Why should anyone support you? That reminds me. I haven't heard a single word of apology from my Mill. Exactly. If we had heard even a single word of apology, maybe we would have reconsidered. But you've been insisting that you did nothing wrong. If she's not willing to apologize, then we have no obligation to help her out. It's over for you. You must be prepared to live on your own from now on. By the way, I have no intention of helping you at all. Having been criticized by my sister-in-law, my husband, and Susan, my Mill could only muster a feeble, I'm sorry, but it was too late. No one was listening anymore. What happened after that? My husband and I quickly packed our bags and temporarily moved into Susan's home. We plan on staying here for a while as we look for a new place to live. Susan took it upon herself to tell all our relatives about what had transpired, ensuring that my Mill couldn't gain any sympathizers among our relatives. Susan is far more trusted, so even if my Mill tried to set the record straight, no one would believe her. So my Mill ended up isolated, with no one to turn to. My sister-in-law even said, I can't think of such a person as a mother. It seems they may sever their family ties soon. My husband is also making preparations for this and told me, just think of my mom as out of our lives. Now utterly ignored, my Mill sold her house to secure some immediate funds. I heard she moved somewhere with that money, renting a cheap apartment and living a lonely life. As for us, we've moved from Susan's home into our new place. I've started working full-time, not part-time anymore, and my husband and I decided to share household chores. It felt more equal that way. I felt like it was better that way because I felt like we were somewhat equal. Until now, I have not been able to work as hard as I would like because of my mother-in-law, but I would like to work hard from now on. We're also discussing the possibility of having children in the future. Once things at work are more stable, we definitely want to start a family. When that time comes, we hope to receive blessings from my sister-in-law and Susan. We're determined to make our future life as fulfilling as possible.